it's not going to be a super long off season, but let's do talk recruiting in the meantime. Nico Iamaleava was at a 7-on-7 tournament over the weekend, 5-star quarterback commit to the University of Tennessee. And Zach, you wrote about this some. What happened? What was notable there?
Yeah, he was at the event in Las Vegas, and On Three's Charles Power, who I guess covers recruiting for them, had a nice write up about him from this weekend, and really, I don't know, it just made me feel even more confident in Nico because I've kind of thought about this. Like, there's so much hype surrounding him being the recruit that received $8 million allegedly. Just the hype surrounding him. It's everything's been pretty much focused on that, like the financial aspect of it. But it's like, okay, how good is this kid though? He's a 5-star quarterback. Harrison Bailey was a borderline 5-star quarterback and kind of flamed out at Tennessee and transferred to UNLV. But is Nico going to go down that road, or is he legit? Is he one of those can't miss prospects? I'm starting to feel more and more like he is a can't miss prospect. He's got the physical tools. Power talks about how he was accurate, fitting the ball through tight windows, a lot of zip on his ball. Said pretty heavy winds at the 7-on-7 tournament didn't really affect Nico throwing the ball because he's got such a great arm. But more than that, he pointed out that Nico really just his leadership abilities and the way that he interacted with other teammates and his demeanor. And he said he's constantly elevating the players around him, that plays real mature, but also loose at the same time. Kind of that baseball mentality that we talk about, where you can't play tight. You can't be pressing. You can't put too much pressure on yourself. So it's like he elevates the play of those around him was my biggest takeaway. And I think that's so important for a quarterback. I think that's what makes Joe Burrow so great. I mean, we've seen other quarterbacks with way more physical tools than Joe Burrow that can throw the ball further, that are faster, that may be more accurate. But Burrow's just got that kind of special thing about him that he makes everybody else around him better. He makes people believe. He made the Bengals believe they can make a Super Bowl run, and nobody would have predicted that before the season. And you see some of those same traits in Nico because you've heard it from other places, and it's consistent that we're hearing this about him, that he's just such a great teammate and a great leader. And Tennessee hasn't really had a great leader at the quarterback position in quite some time.
I mean, yeah, you look, Dobbs was really the last one. And what did Dobbs do for you? Beat Florida, beat Georgia. He's the best quarterback of the last, 15 years,
Yeah.
realistically speaking, for Tennessee.
And Tyler Bray had more physical tools than Dobbs. He couldn't run like Dobbs, obviously, but he had a bigger arm. He was just a more naturally talented quarterback, but he didn't have that leadership ability, and that, like we're talking about with Nico. And that's my biggest takeaway from all of this weekend.
Absolutely. Anything like that makes me feel so much better about a recruit, because there's been such a formation of a culture around recruiting that is all about, these kids getting clout. And I don't blame them for that. You're 17 years old. You have thousands of people telling you you're awesome. And you feel yourself. And you go like, I am awesome. I want all the social media followers. I want to be that dude. When I show up, I want to be the starter. I want to get my playing time and all of this. And it's really built up a culture of that. And you can, we can talk about the pros and cons of that whole thing at another time. But it's made me cynical about a lot of recruits, because there's so many guys that show up with that kind of attitude and then they flame out. And so anytime I see something like that, I go, that's a red flag. I don't like that. They're talking about social media a little bit too much. Talking about social media more than they're talking about football. I don't like that. that kind of thing. And to see these sorts of accolades coming out for Tennessee's biggest recruit. Obviously, we have talked at length about how he is recruiting for Tennessee really actively and really seriously and doing an incredible job there. And we're going to get to a big development there here in just a second. We've talked about that, but to see outside of that whole, he's recruiting for Tennessee thing, to see these accolades for him as a player, as a leader. And it's not about how he wants more followers on Instagram. It's about how he's a leader on the football field. And he has this charisma and he has these traits that have historically made quarterbacks great. It makes me, I don't want to I don't want to put too many expectations on the kid, but it makes me feel differently about him than I would if it was just a 5-star designation that he had. Like, that is one thing, and that is incredible. But these added things just take it to a whole other level where I go, man, that's a good sign. That's a really, really good sign, and it's something that you want in a player, and especially a quarterback, because that's a signal caller. It's the leader of the offense. It is the guy with the ball in his hands on every single possession and every down. Like, that is the dude you need to be the leader with the charisma and to bring those traits to the football field. And to see it already for a kid that's 18 or whatever he may be, it's huge. I love seeing that, and it's nice to hear, even though we haven't seen him play a down of football yet.
Yeah, he does seem extremely mature for a kid that's still in high school. You see interviews with him, and he's talking about other recruits. He's talking about his younger brother. I mean, he's really never making it about himself. He's always building those up around him, and I think it has a lot to do with his background. His dad gave an interview to the Athletic last week, I think, or the week before. He kind of talked about that Samoan background and just their culture and how one of the big points they drill home is that nobody's ever bigger than the team, no matter what. And Nico's going to be the most high profile athlete in Knoxville the moment he steps on campus. He already pretty much is. He's going to have these huge expectations. It would be very, very easy for him to have a big head and to be kind of arrogant, but we haven't seen that from him, and I don't think we will because of that background. I mean, that's just something that they make a priority. You're not going to act like you're bigger than the team. It's a team sport at the end of the day. It's about winning a championship, and that's kind of the mentality that he's going to bring, and why, just another reason. I don't want to say any players bust proof because there are no sure things. We've seen some great players not pan out, but if you've got to make a wager on will Nico pan out or not, I can't imagine that you would bet against him in his development.
It is always a gamble with any player, especially with one that has this much hype coming in. But if a kid is going to have this much hype, this is the type of stuff I want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's kind of the bottom line, and it's what you're saying there. Like, yeah, nothing's a sure thing, and he can still come in and be a bust. But I am feeling better about him not being a bust than I do for a whole lot of other players. Some guy, I mean, genuinely, I think everybody who's listening to this and follows recruiting decently close knows exactly what I'm talking about. That some of these kids do. And you go, that kid's attitude is just not like, he is not going to come in and work hard. You just know it. You see it with some of these guys. Like, you just know he's not going to be that workhorse dude that's out there, first guy on the practice field and last guy to leave. Like, you just know they're not going to do that. and some guys are so talented that it doesn't matter. That absolutely happens. But if you get the combination of the talent and that kind of drive and that kind of leadership and that kind of maturity, man, that's a phenomenal combo. So hopefully he does become that, and that's good stuff. Was there anything else with that? Because then we'll move on to this Carnell Tate news also that's sort of tangentially related to Nico. But was there anything else with Nico?
No, just when you talk about the bust and stuff in college football, I think we see so many 4 and 5-star busts at times because they're really just being evaluated based on pure athletic abilities. And there's a reason that NFL teams take weeks and months to debate prospects and have them in for interviews, and they ask these questions. We see them on Twitter all the time, these dumb questions like, if you were in an ocean and there's a dolphin and a seal drowning, which one do you save first, or something completely absurd like that. I mean, there's stuff that they can glean from those answers because they're trying to figure out, is this kid going to work hard like you're talking about? So it's like Nico is passing all of those tests. It's something that I don't think teams, it's hard for them to take into that stuff into account. It's not like you can go out and talk to every kid's teammate, every recruit's teacher. You probably have a look at their grades and can tell a little bit about what kind of student they are, and that tells you a lot about what they'll do on the field. But I think that's one of the reasons we see so many 4 and 5-star players not pan out, is because these things just aren't taken into consideration. And I think that stuff's highly important with every recruit, but especially at the quarterback position. So it almost feels too good to be true for Tennessee, but maybe it's just a sign that things are going in the right direction and going to turn around soon.
Hopefully, I do always say, like when you talk about the NFL and you talk about the NBA, these pro leagues, the big difference is that it is a job. It is an
Mm-hmm.
occupation. They expect you to essentially clock in 9 to 5, and you are gonna work hard and you're gonna do the things that you need to do. And if you don't do them, we will fire you. Like that is it. And and the thing is that nobody likes to say it, but it is true. College is the same way. It arguably shouldn't be. There should be a learning curve, but when you come in and you're playing in front of millions of people on national television and in front of 100,000 people in an SEC stadium, and that's the expectation, and it's a program that generates billions of dollars, and all of this stuff that comes with college football, it's effectively the same. And to really truly succeed, like I said, there's some guys with so much talent that it doesn't matter, but to really truly succeed, if you are not that guy, it's a ton of hard work, and it is clocking in 9 to 5 and putting your nose to the grindstone. And you want to see those traits in some kids. I mean, like some of the perfect examples, their dad just worked. He just worked. He has the track record at Tennessee, and that's a difference in this. Who is willing to be that just carrying the briefcase guy, clock in, clock out, get the work done, do what you got to do, and hopefully Nico is that. We shall see, but